He looks like a chop. Louise, don't serve him. Let Gene bring it.
Bob?
Why do I have to get
Because he's not gonna you.
Why?
Because you're heavy.
Bob.
Yeah, hold on.
Heavy kids can get
Yeah, who wouldn't want to that's fat?
So, a couple months ago, I made a video about the exploitation of teen male stars. Since then, that video has been demonetized and age restricted, so there's a lot of people who probably don't even know that that video existed. I imagine that it got the restrictions it got because I was talking about real life cases of teen boys facing some kind of sexual harassment and it was deemed inappropriate for all audiences. But it is a topic that I still really do want to talk about, and I think it is so prevalent. So I decided to make an addendum video focusing less on real life examples like Aaron Taylor Johnson and solely on those kinds of exploitations in media with fictional characters. And something that I specifically want to talk about in this video that I never touched on in that video is who we expect to be the victims of these kinds of exploitation. In that video, I spoke to boys in general, but I never made any consideration about how the perceived attractiveness of these characters informs the kind of jokes that are made about them being exploited. Truly, whether or not they're considered to be hot is a big factor in whether or not they are exploited in this way. The idea basically being that this will only happen to you if you're hot enough. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. I want to take a minute to talk to you guys about today's sponsor, Rocket Money. So as you guys can imagine, in order to make these videos, I have to watch a lot of content, a lot of movies and TV shows, which kind of requires that I have a subscription to pretty much every single streaming service out there. However, I don't always need to have these subscriptions long term. There are times where I make a video where I might need to watch something on Paramount Plus, for example, but I don't want to keep a Paramount Plus subscription. That's where Rocket Money comes in. They're really good about helping you find subscriptions that you don't even realize you're still paying for and helping you cancel them. I can't tell you how many times after I finished a video that I realized that I've still been paying for a Peacock subscription for the past 3 months. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. I really enjoy using the app to help me cancel those unwanted subscriptions, and I think you guys would find it useful too to help manage your finances. So go to rocketmoney.com/Tron or click the link in my description box to get started today for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. Thanks so much to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. So before we get started, we first have to hit on a couple points. One of the reasons why depictions of boys being sexually aggressive or promiscuous is bad is because it hinges on this idea that boys are always desiring and craving sexual gratification. And we know that in the real world, that's not always true. There's more rallying and more of a concentrated effort in protecting young girls from being exploited, but not so much young boys. There's an episode of George Lopez where a sex offender moved into their neighborhood. George and the other men in the community immediately assumed that the offender was a man and that they had assaulted a young girl. When they went to confront them and realized that it was a woman who had assaulted a younger boy, they no longer felt the need to pursue action.
Huge mistake with a 15-year-old boy that I will regret for the rest of my life. I served my time in prison and I'm still dealing with things in therapy.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Have a good day, miss. Bye.
Wait a minute. All of a sudden, no one's upset anymore? It's okay because she's a woman and he's a boy? Am I the only one who finds this disturbing?
Yeah, pretty much.
They felt that they understood the circumstances, going as far as to assume that the boy that she had assaulted wanted the assault to happen because he's a boy.
It's different for guys. Okay, look. If the big bad wolf goes after Little Red Riding Hood, it's bad, and it has to be stopped. But if Mother Goose goes after Jack and the Beanstalk, we know he wants it too, so Sasuke, it's all good.
The episode did challenge that preconception, as when Max actively went out to pursue that woman, George, for the first time, started considering the exploitation of boys as being just as bad as the exploitation of girls.
But you made it seem like it wasn't that big a deal.
Well, look, I didn't think it was until I saw you come into that woman's place without your shirt on. It's a double standard, Max, okay? It's a huge deal for a girl or a boy. I was wrong, and this would have messed you up emotionally. Being with a woman that age would have screwed with your head when you were trying to have a normal relationship.
But because of those depictions in media, we are expected to assume that boys will always say yes to that kind of attention. And if that's the assumption that we make, then we excuse the cases when those boys can also be very sexually aggressive. So that calls into question, what can boys who are considered to be hot in media get away with? One of the first things that comes to mind is that ridiculous plotline in Girl Meets World, where Corey's younger brother becomes the object of desire and obsession for Maya.
Is it just me, or is there a new maturity in Maya that I haven't seen before? I find it intriguing.
Where will you be?
Even though there's a 3-year age difference between the two, and by the time he's started college, she's just starting high school, the show plays into Maya's infatuation with him as being justifiable because he's so hot.
What do you see in this guy? How long have you had a crush on him?
It's not a crush. It isn't. Maybe I'm not as old as you guys, but I know what I feel.
Hey, I've never done anything like what you're doing. Yeah, it makes you pretty grown up to me.
Just thought if I did something like this, and you might take me seriously, and maybe we could come to some kind of understanding.
So when the show brings up the idea of him reciprocating her feelings, even though they can simultaneously acknowledge that it's inappropriate, they're able to excuse it away because he's so hot.
You know if you love somebody.
You know what? I'm through playing games. I want to talk to you.
Who?
People want to see these characters get together. This relationship is no longer wrong or inappropriate because the older male party is attractive enough that we can excuse it away.
Live your life, I'll live my life. I know you're out there, and I'm out there too.
That's your deal?
That's my deal.
I do not think that this is a plotline that would have gotten taken that seriously had he not been portrayed to be really attractive. And that was also a large part of the hunger from the fan base of wanting to see these characters get together despite it being obviously inappropriate, because they just look good together. So when he says crazy stuff to her, basically asking her to wait until she's an acceptable age for them to start dating, that isn't treated as weird, inappropriate, or a huge red flag. It's met with huge applause and cheers.
I like you too. And I'd never want you not to be in my life. So, how about we try this?
Boyfriend and girlfriend right now.
No.
Boyfriend and girlfriend eventually. You're not saying no.
Grooming is only wrong when the guy is ugly. And that's the connective through line and something that I overlooked in that previous video. Their level of attractiveness dictates what they're able to get away with. And so often, their attractiveness also excuses their sexual aggression. In Drake and Josh, Drake is always depicted as the more sexually aggressive of the two. He dates a lot of girls throughout the show. He never forms any long-lasting relationships. And a large part of that is chalked up to the fact that Drake, like a lot of boys, are just slaves to their sexual desires. They can't control themselves, and if a hot enough girl gives them the right attention, they have to give in.
Where's Drake? All right, our chemistry exam starts in less than half an hour.
He left.
He left?
All right, class, close your books, put all materials underneath your desk. Drake, stop kissing Cat. Your exam is about to begin. You will have exactly 55 minutes to complete your...
Look, I'm sorry about this morning, all right? You know, but Kat called and wanted to make out, and, you know, Kat. Yes, she's very pretty.
And in the show, Drake being so attractive means he can get away with it. Obviously, Drake only gets away with acting like that because he's a guy. Promiscuity in boys is not only accepted, but it's encouraged. Drake will start making out with a girl he just met and doesn't even know the name of, and because he's a boy, that's always presented as being something aspirational.
Drake? Yeah? You just met her and you're already kissing? And gave her a soda?
And throughout the show, Drake being a womanizer and dating a lot of girls is often just played as a joke, and his sexual aggression is oftentimes excused because he's attractive. He gets to do questionable stuff, sometimes without consent, and the other party doesn't have an issue with it because he's cute. And something that I think is really interesting is that specifically in the Drake and Josh dynamic, because Drake is considered to be conventionally attractive and has a lot of ease in getting the girls that he wants, and Josh, on the other hand, isn't, they play into that. Sometimes at one point having a competition where the boys see who can get the most girls' phone number, with the expectation being that Drake would obviously win because he's just that attractive. So in cases like this, where Drake is being very sexually aggressive, instead of being punished for it, he gets rewarded because he's attractive. But on the other hand, when Josh acts in a similarly aggressive way, he gets punished for it because he's not hot enough.
I know, I gotta kiss someone.
What was that for?
I won a contest.
Yay.
I won a contest.
Congratulations, man.
Kelso from That 70s Show is also a really good example of this. He's a character who's portrayed to be very attractive, and because of that, there are times where it's almost expected for Kelso to be a slave to his sexual desires. Throughout the show, he cheats on his long-term girlfriend, Jackie, multiple times. And it's always presented in a comedic manner and always in this framing of boys just being boys. But on the flip side, even though Kelso acts in a very sexually aggressive manner, he is also sometimes the victim.
Listen, Lori, I don't think my girlfriend, Jackie, would like you sitting on me.
I think you like me sitting on you. In fact, I know you do.
Okay, but that's not the point.
But it's never really taken seriously in the context of the show because he's a guy. And on the flip side of what these boys are able to get away with because they're attractive, what happens to them is also pushed away and excused because they're attractive. For example, when they encounter sexual aggression from a woman or a girl, that is seen as okay because one, they're boys and boys would always be amenable to sexual advances from girls, and two, they're hot, so of course they're used to getting accosted by girls. Beck is a character who his whole character trait in Victorious is that he's really attractive. And throughout the show, young girls and even women make sexual advances towards him. And the joke therein lies that he's so hot, even as an underage person, that adult women can't help themselves and make advances towards him.
It's about letting the emotions inside of you come out and represent moments.
Are you dating anyone?
Katie.
I just think we should know if he has a girlfriend. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Dang it!
You in college yet?
Bye!
But that's okay because he's a boy. A similar situation happened with Spencer from iCarly. He gets assaulted in the show, but it's played strictly for laughs.
Well, why don't we go break it some more?
Oh, no.
Because when assault happens to boys by the hands of women, it's not as serious or dangerous. If we use the attractiveness of a guy, we end up also excusing the times that they act out in violent and harmful ways. Like that episode in iCarly, where Carly wanted to date a nerdy tech guy, and even though she considered him really attractive, she also considered him to be pretty much harmless. But turns out he wasn't. He was really harmless and shy, not even being able to pick up that Carly was flirting with him.
Well, keep checking. I really need that laptop fixed. Especially since I have no boyfriend. and nothing to do tomorrow night.
Which is pretty much the archetype of nerds. They're unassuming, harmless, and have terrible social skills with girls, which creates this blind spot when they turn around to be creeps.
Okay.
After we kiss?
Oh, I think not. Fresh. What? What's the matter with you? What happened to your nerdiness?
There are also multiple instances in Drake and Josh where adult women comment on Drake's attractiveness. And it doesn't matter how young they are. Even in shows like Everybody Hates Chris, Drew, who is depicted as being attractive, is constantly accosted by older women.
Wow. See? Whiter than they were when you brought them in. Thanks. You want me to teach you a kill move? No, that's okay. When you turn 18, you call me, okay?
And he's a child. But the attractiveness of a guy is often used to excuse his sexual exploitation. It's okay to sexualize him in that way because he is hot and because he's a boy. In an episode in iCarly, Sam and Carly fight over the attention of this one really attractive boy from their school.
So you're in the AV club with Freddie?
Oh, yeah, sure am.
Wow, that's so awesome. What's cooler than a guy in the AV club?
Nothing.
Guys, the web show?
Oh, right.
The competition between the two escalates and eventually the boy gets hurt. And while passed out, Carly steals a kiss.
I win.
And it's okay because she's just a girl. A similar situation happens in Victorious, where all the girls are fighting over the attention of the same hot guy. Eventually, Jade kind of kidnaps him and forces herself onto him. And he's depicted as being okay with that because it's being done by a girl. Another example of this is Luke from Modern Family. In the later seasons, Luke starts dating a much older woman.
Look, no! She has a boyfriend.
Yeah, me.
No, it's some young guy from the club. Oh, boy. How did this happen?
I'll tell you how this happened because nobody was willing to say what needs to be said. No, 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 and hell no.
And everyone seems to be pretty much okay with it. No one really seriously tries to break up the relationship. And even though there's a clear power imbalance, Luke being 18 years old, which is still technically a teenager, is depicted as being mature enough to handle that kind of a relationship. Again, not because he's 18, but because he's a boy. We have very different attitudes when it comes to the exploitation of girls versus the exploitation of boys. Boys are just expected to be able to handle sex better because they are always in pursuit of sex. The idea that all boys want sex at all times is harmful to everyone. And the idea of who deserves protection and whose actions we can excuse away based on how attractive they're perceived to be is also equally harmful. We need to have more conversation around the protection of boys in this aspect. So let me know what your thoughts are below. Let me know if you have any more examples of this. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.